Hey there, welcome to NZ Money Karma, where you can find freedom from the daily grind through budgeting, simple living and adventure. Just need to take a big deep breath. It's been a full-on day. We're meant to be in the middle of summer here in New Zealand. It is torrential rainfall. Everything is flooded around my house. The chicken coop is flooded. I have to go out and do something about that before the end of the day. We're getting off lightly where I live. Up in the North Island of New Zealand, you know, it's proper flooding where people are having to take shelter on the roof of their house while they wait for rescue. There's landslides, there's loss of life. Our climate is really unstable, and middle of summer when it's days like this, it does just bring it home and remind me that we live in a very fragile state at the moment. I think of human history for all sorts of different reasons, and it makes me more and more determined to be able to live life on my own terms, doing my own thing, looking after my family in my own way. And part of that is, at the moment, we live on a very tight, tiny budget so that we can say goodbye to paid work in the near future. This is our aim. We would like to retire early. I'll be 50, my husband would be 55, all going well, if we pull the pin. So here I am to budget my tiny amount of $265. This is all the discretionary spending our family of 4 has. We have 2 teenagers, 2 adults, and $265 is what's left over from our $1,000 per week that we live on once we have put money aside for things like school fees, sport fees, money in a house maintenance fund, all those kind of things. I've done an earlier video on exactly what the amounts are, so I'm not going to go into it here. Needless to say, we spend the bulk of our money, putting away for future things that we will have to pay for, that we know, we can imagine. We're expecting that there will be something that we need to buy in the future, so we put the money aside for that. What I have here is the money that we use on a weekly basis, and things more for like our personal needs that we might need money for. That's what I have cash sinking funds for. So let me get my 265. It's not very much money, and don't think for a second that I feel like this is a huge amount or extremely generous. It's tight. It's super tight for us, and that's a choice we make. We could work for longer, we could work more, and we choose not to do that. So we're choosing a lifestyle, and now we're having to make our, the budget fit that lifestyle, I guess, or a lifestyle fit the budget. And that's what we are determined to do. One of the things that's hardest for us, that I have to admit and put my hand up, is in the past we have, if we want something bigger, better, shinier, more amazing, not normally a thing, it's normally an experience to be fair, but if we want that, we always achieve it because we just work more. We both, my husband and I, have actually the same job. We work in different areas, but we are qualified in the same thing. And they're the kind of jobs where you can just pick up more work really easily. It's never hard. For example, yesterday, my team was short and they needed someone to work extra, and I kind of drew the short straw on that one, so I did. So there is a bit of extra money like that, but it's very easy to pick up extra work. Every day I could pick up extra work if I wanted, so could my husband. So we choose not to. But in the past, when we've wanted something big, we've just picked up more work. We have very rarely had to say no to things, because we've always been able to make it happen. But we're at a stage of life where we're committing to having a fixed income, for the foreseeable with an early retirement, and we're not going to be in a position to be able to make extra money, really. So we're practicing just saying no this year. We're just seeing if we can do it, because it's certainly tempting just to say yes, 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 yes whenever something comes up. And sometimes you've just got to be hard on yourself and say no. So that's, I guess that's my challenge. That's my challenge, is just to rein it in and just accept that the budget is fixed and that there's really no wiggle room. I cannot muck this up. No pressure, but I cannot afford to muck up the budget. So food, last week you would have seen my wee video. It was a very short one because $100 didn't go very far, but I do have another $100 to spend this week. And I'm actually going to take it in 20s. And this week's grocery shop is going to be really focused on meat. So I kind of thought maybe 1 week with my $100 when I'm at Pack and Save or the discount supermarket, I can be focusing on stocking up the cupboard with spices, with cereals, whatever we need, that's kind of like dry goods. And I'm probably always going to have to buy milk each week, possibly cheese and butter. We have our own eggs because we have chickens, so that's not an issue. So I thought if I could do week about, maybe that would be a good way to get bargains. Where I go to get the meat is out of town, so it's a bit of a drive. That means I'm not driving there every week, which was my original plan for the year. I'll only be driving every fortnight. It's easy in summer to think this because there's lots of fruit and vegetables in the garden, so that's another thing you don't really have to buy too much of. So I'm not sure if it'll work out long term, but I'm going to give that a go. So for this $100, I'm going to go shopping mostly for meat, to stock up the freezer with some meat. Petrol, nothing in there. I'm going to put in 20. It's not much for petrol, I do realise that, but that's what I have for petrol. We have a hybrid car and we have driven the kids to sports practice today because it's absolutely bucketing down, but for the most part they should be biking. Tickets and fun, I need $40 in here. Last cash stuff I put in $40 and I used it. I gave $20 to each of the kids to go out for dinner with some friends while they were on a sports trip. So they had to stop off and get some food. So that's what I did. Don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea, but that's how I spent the money. So let's see if I can 20, 30, 40. That's their $20 each a week. Normally they would be responsible for their own kind of snacky food if they were out and about, if they wanted to buy that. But because it was a sports thing, I felt like it was kind of our responsibility. So that's why I did that. Garden is only getting $5 and there's only $10 in there at the moment, so $15. I am going to have to be so resourceful in the garden this year. I'm really going to have to save all my summer seeds. There's no room for any laziness on my part because laziness equals cost, right? If I choose not to do something for myself, like save the seeds, that means I'm going to buy the seeds that someone else saved. So my laziness is going to cost me in the end. And I am not willing to, I'm just not willing to keep, to give away my life's energy to work, than to pay other people for convenience. So I have to make myself do some of these things that I don't find easy, I guess. When I don't find it easy, I don't want to do it, right? That's human nature. So I've got to harness that inner kind of enthusiasm and that can-do number 8 wire Kiwi attitude to get stuff done this year because there's no way around it. I cannot afford to do it any other way. And now I actually don't have the bike envelope in here, but that's a good example. My son had a bike accident, took it to the bike shop. That's cool, they have to fix the thing. I didn't know how to fix it. I couldn't even move the parts. They were just made of too tough a steel. But while they're there, he needed a new bike tyre. My husband took the bike in and he needed new brake pads. So that's all good. But then my husband, rather than saying, yes, I'll buy the bike tyre and the brake pads and then bring them home and we put them on, he just said to the guy, yeah, that'd be great if you put them on. So you end up paying like $60 to someone to put things on for things that you could do yourself. Now he did that because he was under pressure. He was scooting out quickly from work. It was unexpected. He hadn't really thought about it. We hadn't talked about the costs. I don't even know if he feels confident in changing brake pads or if that's just something that I've always done. So there were all these things So that convenience cost us money, and we just don't have the spare money to give away at the moment. So we really have to up our game in all sorts of different areas, I would say. I feel like we're pretty onto it like 80% of the time, and then the 20% of the time we're not onto it, we're really blimmin' hopeless. So we have to up that 80 to probably about 95 at least. Of course, we're never going to be perfect, but we've got to get a wee bit better, a little bit more mindful. And one of the ways I'm going to do that is by building in some routines to our year. So with the kids' bikes, well, and my bike, I should say, because I also bike daily, I need to set in a schedule, you know, like the first Saturday of the school holidays, for example. Maybe that's the day I service all the bikes. You know, like I oil them, I check the brake pads. Maybe I need to buy some things in, so we've got brake pads here, so when they need changing, I've got them. You know, I don't have to go and order them from somewhere and wait, and then it's time to go back to school and you still don't have brake pads and all that kind of stuff that puts pressure. Just got to be a little bit more strategic, a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more intentional with our frugality, and I feel like we will get there. Okie doke, giving. So I've got 95 there. I'm going to put in another, actually I'll take the 50 and put that back. So I'm putting in another 5, so that gives me 100. Slow and steady, folks. I know this stuff works. That's the thing. I know it works because I do it and it works. And then every now and then we kind of fall off the wagon, and it's so blimmin' hard to climb back on, is it not? Like, it's so hard. I don't know, spending money, it's a bit like a disease. It feels like the more you spend, the easier it is to spend, and the harder it is to rein it back in and live a frugal life. So that's what I'm going to try and do, live a frugal life and nail it, you know, 95% of the time. So work travel today is getting 20. Luckily, my husband does not have to travel away for work for the next month, so I've got plenty of time to stock that one up. Then I've got pocket, oh, hang on. What did I do over here? I gave, that was like my kids' pocket money, and I put that in tickets and fun. So tickets and fun, I took out the money for tickets and fun. That's going straight back in there. I need $40 because we still have something that requires us to pay a koha, and that's the koha. Pocket money, so that's the kids' pocket money, $40. Now my husband has just arrived home with one of the bikes that was repaired, so give me a second, I just need to go and help him get it out of the car. Won't be 2 ticks. Sorry about that, on the back. Still bucketing down. Just went to the garage as well, and I thought maybe I'm just going to have to collect my chickens and pop them in a cat carrier and have them sleep in the garage so that they stay completely dry if their chicken coop's going to, their perch is not far off the ground. It's off the ground, but it's not well off the ground, you know, like it's not up in the air. It's a very small coop, so less than ideal. Anyway, so that's pocket money. That's that one done. I'll show you this one as well, just in case you haven't joined me before. I have an emergency fund that I'm working on here, and I took some money out, $71 from here, because we bought a push mower. Our old push mower we had taken to the shop to get resharpened, and found out that it's not one that can get resharpened. They're literally like a one-use push mower. So they advertise them in Bunnings, you know, like, hey, here's this eco-friendly option, have your push mower, and then you can't sharpen them because it can't come apart. So that was really stink. So we bought a very old one, you know, like very old school wooden hand, you know, wooden stick with a little wooden handle on it. Tick, 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 it goes. Really super sharp, and that can be sharpened. So $71, and we will have to maintain that. It will cost $85 every time we want to take it to the lawnmower shop to get sharpened. So into my celebrations folder, still looking very ugly because I haven't spent any time to fix it and make it nice. I am putting in another $10, so that's 20. And then into clothes and shoes, that's just getting 5. I have my kids are paying for their own clothes this year, that's why I'm giving them more pocket money, but I will still buy like a pair of running shoes for them each year. So that's why I need to keep topping this up. What have I got so far? 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 110, 130, 40, 150. So that's enough probably for one child's shoes. That's all right. If I see something at the second-hand shop as well, I'm going to buy it for them because it's often only, a couple of bucks. So I'm not going to just hang them out to dry, but I do want them to start budgeting and start really thinking about how they allocate their money, because when they leave home, they need to be able to do this stuff, and they're both teenagers now, and that time will go in the blink of an eye. And I don't really know that many older teenagers, but a few in our family, and they've not done well when they've left home. They've left home and they've struggled. They've struggled financially, they've struggled emotionally, they just haven't been ready, and I don't want that for my kids. So animals is going to get $10, and this is for grooming, for food, and if there was a vet, something that was required. So I've got plenty in there. I should probably hold off and start just putting $5 into here because there's plenty. 150, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 255 in there. That's heaps. I will need some more chicken food sooner rather than later, because I took the other bag of chicken food to the batch and just left the feeder filled up here. So once that's done, I've got no more. And this is the health envelope. I'm going to put in $10 here, and this is going to get a significant hit this week because I'm off to the dentist, and it's to get don't know how to explain it. It's where I've had a filling in the past and they've shaved away too much of the tooth and not built it back up again with the filling, so it's left a big gap between teeth, and my new dentist has pointed out the problem with this to me, and so I want to get it fixed. So I'll probably say goodbye to, I don't know, near $400 I guess when I do that. Dental care in New Zealand is super expensive, but there's nothing you can do about it, so I don't worry. I'm always going to go to the dentist. Oops. Crikey. Realign that. I've had a little bit of coinage that I've been able to put into my change jar. It's called challenge. I haven't yet made a challenge to go in here, but I will, and it will be very fun because I'll be able to tick some things off before I even start. With this challenge money, I don't know what I'll do, but I have nothing today to put into my emergency fund because it's all spent. And that is the way of the world, folks, isn't it? So there's two ways we can approach it. Sometimes people bemoan not having enough money, or get angry at the government because times are tough, and they are tough. I'm not saying they're not tough at all, but getting angry at the government to me doesn't help. You can vote a different government in if you like, but they're probably not going to solve your problems. That is my feeling on it, that we have to be responsible for ourselves and help our neighbours and help our communities, and that is the way we can all thrive, rather than hope, kind of pinning our hopes on people we don't know and people that don't know us to save the day. So I'm going to carry on with my tidying. I'm going to get a plan together to rescue my chickens from their wet surroundings, and I look forward to catching up with you guys next time. Bye for now.